right. Should be streaming about right now. Let's just double check, make sure that we are live to the web. All right, and it looks like we're good. All right, guys, so thanks to everyone that's in the chat room for joining us for this episode of This Week in Photo. This is going to be an emotional show. This is going to be a good show. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'll share as much as I can about the impetus behind the show when we start it, we get going. But I want to protect, I don't want to say too much because I want to protect the guilty. Let's say that. So Jake and Troy, feel free to say whatever you want, but I'm going to be measured. I'm going to be measured, unlike, anyway. Okay, here we go. Wow. I'm trying to keep the beast at bay. You guys are pushing me. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to start the show. Stand by, quiet on the set. And let me bring this up so I know what I'm saying. Okay, here we go. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. On this episode, it's all about thieves, plagiarists, and villains of the modern age. All right, welcome back to TWiP. I am your host, Frederick Van Johnson, like I said before that animation. Joining me on today's show are two fancy gentlemen that are here to dive into this topic of thievery, plagiarism, and that kind of stuff as it relates to content creators and creatives that live, metaphorically on the internet. Joining me first is Mr. Jake Hicks. What's up, Jake? What's going on?
Good, thank you. Yeah, good. You can't see, but just below here, I've got my pajamas and slippers on because it's 2 a.m. So that's just please tell me. I'm going to try and remember not to stand up, but yeah.
Don't stand up. Don't stand up, because someone will copy that and make it their own, right? Yeah.
That's why I built the standing desk, so I don't have that problem, right?
So, Jake Hicks, before we move on, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Jake Hicks? Other than commercial photographer extraordinaire.
I'm going to go with that. That's my business card right there.
That's it.
I'm based out of London, portrait editorial fashion shooter. Been shooting for about 10 or so years, probably even more. But yeah, my style is quite bold and bright with a lot of colored gels. That's what I'm known for. Yeah.
Love it. And you have some experience with the topic, tonight's topic, right? That we're gonna
a lot of experience.
A lot of experience. All right, and our next guest was Troy Miller. Troy, what is going on with you, man? I haven't seen you since when? Yesterday, day before yesterday, something?
2 days ago.
2 days ago, yeah. Troy's a regular on This Week in Photo, does our critiques with me, etc., and runs F64 Live. What's up in your world, man?
Just trying to recoup from running F64 Live, just setting up that last event. So now I'm editing. Now I'm getting back to all my wedding edits. So editing like crazy, and I realized that I haven't been in the groove enough. So I got some stuff in Capture One, I got some stuff in Lightroom, and I've got to I need to focus on this stuff. So, So that's it. I've been editing. I've been standing right here editing for 6 hours.
There you go. Good. Sharpening that knife, keeping that knife sharp. That's good. Good stuff. All right. Well, tonight's topic obviously is about plagiarism and that sort of thing. And I thought I would kick this show off with I want to do a roundtable, and I'll start with you, Jake. You're the new kid on the block here. I wanted to talk, get your, you saw the show notes, you saw the sort of rundown of the stuff that I want to cover. Just give us your top line sort of opinion on the state of the union with regard to creativity on the web, and is it even possible to keep it secure these days?
I think it's just the cost of doing business now in this current market, and that copyright issues and people stealing and using your work. I think that's just going to be part and parcel. That's the price you pay for having this fantastic ability to show your images to so many people around the world. I don't think there's any way of getting around it. I just think you just have to accept that it's going to happen and put as many things in place to prevent it, but just know that it is going to happen, not if, but when.
And what is it? Let's put a finer point on it. What is it? Someone going to your website and doing a screen capture and uploading it to their own?
Yeah, so I mean, it's anything really, just using your images to sell products, whether it be books or mugs, mouse mats, whatever, phone cases, anything. Just using your image in any form so that they can then in turn make money themselves. I mean, I don't have a problem with people using images as examples for journalistic reasons, on a blog or something like that. I'm not, that's fine. It's when people start to make money from your hard work for free. That's when I have an issue with it, and in my mind, that there's no other word for that apart from theft.
Yeah, theft, thievery. Yep. All right, Troy. What about you, man? Give us your 30,000 foot idea of tonight's topic, and is it a solvable problem?
No, it's a situation or an issue that we have to deal with. Just very much. Like what he said is that this is anytime your work is out there, whether like for me it's images at a location, a particular pose or a way to light or something that I do with the bride, I'm going to come back and I'm going to see other photographers, oh, that's a cool location. They're going to duplicate that. There's just no way around that anymore. Watermarking doesn't matter. I don't have the kind of work that somebody's going to take and go use it commercially, so to speak. Mine is more at home in my neighborhood where other photographers are going to try to use the locations that I use.
Yeah.
Or light the way that I light in that location. It's the same struggle. I mean, it affects my bottom line. So we just have to learn how to cope with it.
How to deal with it. Yeah, and that's a good segue because one of the things that I want to talk about is the whole idea of watermarking and is that a placebo, for us? And we've talked about it on the show before at length, and there's different opinions on whether watermark can be considered a watermark on your image can be considered art, or is it actually detrimental to the overall shot? Before we dive into that piece, though, if you look at this from the standpoint, like Troy, you were talking about the idea of locations that you find in your area to use for your shoots, and they may be kind of hidden or whatever. You find it, you use it, someone else sees that shot, now they're there using this thing that you worked for. That's kind of analogous to one of the things I wanted to talk about on the show tonight, and that's kind of like websites and people doing that. Like there's thousands and thousands, if not more, WordPress themes out there. If someone that admires your website sees it and then goes to buy your theme, it's easy enough to find it, right? And they go buy your theme and then replicate it, exactly. Is that akin to what you're talking about in terms of them stealing your location, or is that am I reaching?
No, it's, when I think to say stealing my location is a bit harsh. I mean that, I shoot in a public park. Everybody can shoot there. You can find the tree that I use. I know that there are photographers that follow me to see where I shoot and to see what I do. So I shoot with things in a way that they can't easily replicate, right? So I might shoot, there's one particular tree I like a lot in a park. I shoot with a 24-1.4, super shallow depth of field. I backlight it with strobes. These are things that are technically difficult for most photographers, beginning photographers anyway, to do. Sure. So therefore it reduces the chances of them duplicating my shot. And then actually, if they do duplicate that shot, it usually looks like crap, which makes me just look all that better.
Yeah.
So yeah. I like to think that I'm going to stack the odds in my favor. So if you try to copy me or you try to duplicate what I'm doing, you're not going to do it as well as I am.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
And Jake, what about you? I mean, I know you mentioned that this is an ongoing battle for you, people doing the sort of right-click, save as, change the name, change the metadata or whatever of your work. Have you seen this? Is this a rampant issue with people just making Jake Hicks' work their own? Give us some anecdotal stories.
It's having a recognizable style is a blessing and a curse at the same time. On one end of the spectrum, you have people just using your images as their own, whether it be on Instagram, just sharing images as their own, not crediting anybody. So they are in effect just using those images as advertising for themselves. That's at the at the bottom end, and then you have people using your images as book covers and stuff. So not only have they stolen my image, but they have also taken away a photographic job from another photographer. So it's a compound issue. I mean, there's places in copyright free havens like China and that sort of thing that are using my images wholesale on everything, mouse pads, t-shirts, phone cases, and there's nothing that you can do about it. No company's going to try and stop that. I certainly can't stop it. So, but at the same time, you have to think, would I have made any money off that? It's like, okay, you've stolen my image. Are these people who are stealing my images, were they really my client anyway? No, right. I don't think they were. I would say that Troy probably has more of a problem with what he's talking about, because from that regard, they are basically taking money out of his pocket more so than people stealing my images are, because I don't think I would have gotten that job anyway. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it reminds me of when back in the day when iTunes first launched and there was the whole Napster thing and people were getting all their music for free. And Steve Jobs went on stage and basically said, you know what, we're going to create this thing. Yeah, you can go get your music for free, but we're going to provide a normal, correct way for you to get the images. People that are going to steal music will still continue to steal music and movies, but I think he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, we're not going after that market. We're going after the market of people that actually want to pay and license their music, right? And same thing with your customers. It's the people that are stealing and passing your work off as their own are operating in a different sphere than where you are. So then, to both of you guys, how do you stave off this stuff? We're talking about, thievery of your hard-earned location that you're working to find or that you found, or someone, replicating your style, or even going so far as to save your images and pass them off as your own, or a website, and pass it off your hard-earned sort of configuration efforts, if that's a thing, passing that off as their own. What's the recourse? Now, Troy, I want to start with you, because I know you and I have talked at length about this offline, and you're a high road guy, right? You're like, we go, they go low, we go high, just do better work, all that stuff, and the universe will sort itself out. I'm not exactly that guy. I mean, I want to go high road, but at the same time, humanity is we kind of innately want retribution, right? So what do you say?
Because, we put so much of ourselves into what we create. Right? I mean, all of our work, a location, a lighting style, a website, whatever it is. I mean, we put a lot of ourselves into that, a lot of time educating, a lot of time creating. And that's hard to see somebody else come in and just walk away with it. Right. But, Jake made a really good point, is that there are clients that I need to reach. So, for example, my client is my wedding couple. My client isn't necessarily somebody who may copy that photo, right? Because my clients don't want to copy the photo. My clients want to buy one for the wall. Right. So if I know that somebody copied it or whatever, that's why I don't watermark them. It doesn't stress me out, because that's not my client base, right? So who am I reaching? Who am I impressing? Who am I giving the best product to? That's who I'm worried about. And those people, they're not going to take my work because they want the best work they can get. And I do think, though, and I'm speaking directly to you on this, is I do think that when somebody comes along and steps on your toes, that's maybe you've been standing there too long. Maybe you've been doing the same thing for too long. Maybe you've gotten a little lax in your innovation, because, if your stuff is really unique, they can't copy it. Yeah, and we've talked about this. That's one way to think about it. But the other way to think about it is, I've been building this ship in the bottle for 2 years, and I've got this ship in the bottle. I'm just about to put the captain on the deck, and you look over at somebody that's been watching you build the ship in the bottle, builds their own really quickly, because they just want to copy your ship in the bottle. For me personally, I got to agree entirely and wholeheartedly with what Troy's saying there. If you wanted to chase it's a full-time job. In all honesty, chasing everybody that is stealing work, and yes, you could employ somebody to do it, and
I've had people message me going, you're seen as, a respected member of the photographic community. You should be chasing every single person down. It's your responsibility. And like, on one hand, I agree with them. Like, you're absolutely right. I should be, if I'm a public facing shooter out there, I should be seen to be doing it. You're right. But at the same time, it's just so time consuming. And ultimately, the chances of you actually getting anything from it, apart from, yes, I won, is just next to nothing. The chance of you getting anything in terms of monetary value is almost impossible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And I think, I agree on principle with what both of you guys are saying, and that's the idea. Actually, I agree 100% in terms of you got to focus on the positive, right? So the hard part about being a human, I think, is staving off those negative impulses, especially if you're an artist, right? Staving off those negative impulses and letting them pollute the positivity that contributed to the brand and the effort and the art that you're creating in the first place, right? So that in that way, the plagiarists, the villains, and the crooks that are stealing stuff, they win, right? Because they steal your stuff and now you feel bad. Now the entire pool is polluted with all this negativity versus if you just, put on your Iron Man armor and let it bounce off and you just move forward. A guy I know, Scott Bourne, he's pretty prolific online. I think he's running Skylum now. He's the president over there. But I remember, several years ago, like back in the day, I think it was like 10 years ago. My video looks like it's tearing up or something. Let me switch off to me. Yeah. But it was like 10 years ago. He said something like if you steal his work, he will litigate against you. Period. Right? He will go after you. And he put that out in the ocean of waters, so that people knew if you mess with Scott Bourne's work, he is going to screw with you. His lawyers are going to come after you. Is that the right way to go or not? Troy, what do you think?
No, I think that's a little pretentious, and I think that it doesn't serve the industry really well. I think education helps a lot. I think for people to understand that, hey, this is bad behavior, right? Like, you shouldn't do this. This is uncool. But if I spent my time chasing down everybody who copied my work, I'm not going to be able to be creative and innovative in my own work. And you know what? I don't have time for that. I really just want to go do the stuff that I'm good at. And, everybody knows the cover band, but everybody wants to go see the original band, right? Yeah. Like, it's not like because there's an Eagles cover band that they're somehow stealing the followers of Eagles. If anything else, they're fulfilling that need for them, right? They're helping them.
Yeah.
Although you could say, oh no, you're plagiarizing that work. If somebody's going to go do J-Cake style work, but it's not his.
Right.
And he's the originator, and he's the best of it. I mean, you interviewed Don Kormarechka about his book about how to do macro.
Yeah.
And one of the questions you asked him was like, aren't you afraid that somebody's going to copy all the stuff you've done? He goes, I'm innovating every day.
Yeah.
You can't, and that's where I feel we need to be. I really think that's
completely agree.
The best way to go after it. And that's where your energy is best spent, I think.
All right. So Jake, what about composite imagery and someone looking at, Jake Hicks photography and using your images as part of a larger work? I know you have some experience with that. tell us your true feelings about that.
So, yeah, I've certainly had images that have been stolen and used as composites. The biggest problem with that is the fact that they're incredibly hard to find and spot. So, have we just lost Frederick? Or?
No, I'm still here. I'm
Okay.
just trying to sort my camera here.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I hear you here.
Yeah, so the biggest problem with composites is the fact that it's very hard to actually spot when your image is being stolen, just because it's a small section of an image. So, like the normal image finding softwares that you can use, like Dye or Pixie and that sort of thing, they don't tend to find it. So it's only other people finding it for you. And the issue becomes as to how much of that image is yours. Like, do have they stolen that image? If it's a completely brand new image, I mean, that's, it's a montage really of images. Have they stolen everybody's image? Who owns that image now? So it becomes a bit of a gray area. But then, like, the music industry deals with that all the time, with samples and that sort of thing, and remixes. And so, unfortunately, that person has stolen 5, 6, maybe 10 images, and everybody is entitled to a slice of the pie if money is made from it.
Wow. Troy, what about you, man? What do you think about that? Derivative works and people that are using parts of other people's works without their permission as part of a greater composite?
Well, I think it's uncool, right? I think it's just lazy. If you want to use somebody else's work, most artists, if you were to reach out to them and say, hey, I really would like to use this. I'm making this piece. What do you think if I use this? If they come back and say, yeah, there's a $10,000 fee, then move on. There's plenty of free work out there. Why would you take it from somebody that doesn't want to be part to collaborate? You may make some great friends. You may meet some cool people. So take the high road. Reach out to them. Say, hey, Jake, can I use this? I want to do this for this exhibition. He may look at that and go, that is freaking cool. I would love to be part of that. Yeah, just give me credit. You don't.
And I have done that. You're absolutely right, Troy. Yeah, people have reached out and done that. Yeah, there's been exhibitions where street artists have got in touch with me, and they want to take my work as a foundation for their own interpretation of it. And absolutely, yeah, please, I'd love to see it. Just make sure you send me some images, and I'd love to be a part of it. I mean, tattoos is another good one. It's like I normally get sent the images after the tattoo is done. but yeah, I mean, like, the law states that they're not allowed, like, they've made money off my image. Like, the law is that they're not allowed to do that. I mean, I love it. I mean, I'm not gonna, it's just one image. You're not gonna resell that tattoo over and over and over again. I'm more than happy for them to do that. I think it's pretty remarkable that anybody would want one of my images tattooed on their body forever. But the point is that they have still broken the law. That's theft,
Yeah.
They've made money off your work.
Now, Jake, what are the laws over there in the UK around copyright? Is there? I mean, here in the US, we have a US Copyright Office where we can register our images and have some semblance of recourse if someone steals them. What do you do over there across the pond?
We're pretty fortunate here. Every time you press the shutter, then you are the copyright owner, and that's locked to you. We don't have to register it or take them. I think you guys have to take them to you can do. You have more power if you do, or something like that. But yeah, we don't have to do anything like that. As soon as we press the button, it's ours, and it's how they prove that, I don't know. But yeah. That's the law. Yeah, as soon as you press the button, you own it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue into watermarking and that sort of thing. How do you feel about that, Troy? Are you a watermarker?
I only watermark for identification, just so people know where the work came from. I have no belief that it's going to protect my image whatsoever. It's just so that when it's out in social media, if my watermark is still on there, people know where it came from. Other than that, I don't share anything that that I can't afford to share. I mean, I have work that I won't share on social media because it's super, super unique, and the moment somebody else sees that, they're going to be there shooting. So I'm conscious of that idea. I share it in person, I share it with galleries, I share it, with printed things, but I'm not going to put on social media because it's too easy. But I watermark for ID. That's it.
Yeah, but not for artistic value. You're not watermarking to with the crazy sort of creative, beautiful work of art within the work of art. You're not doing that?
No, look, it's on my Instagram account, or it's on my Facebook, or I don't do Facebook, or it's on my website. You can trace it back to me. If you really want spicy Jello artwork, if you want something from me, you're gonna track me down. You're gonna find it, and if you don't, then you're not my client. Right.
Jake, what about you, man? In terms of watermarking, is that a thing for you, or are you vehemently against it or for it?
I think different industries just have a different feeling about it. I think like wedding shooters or maybe fine art shooters, I think it's more prevalent. I think in my industry, the fashion editorial, it's very rare to see it. It's not something that I do personally. It's not something that I have any interest in doing. And I think that's just down to if somebody's going to steal it, they're going to steal it. I mean, that may be naive way to look at it, or ignorant, but that's it's I do not watermark my images because I think my images are quite clean as they are, and if I was to put something on there, it would need to be my branding and my logo, and I can't see any way of that looking good on one of my photographs.
Right. No, and there is the idea that for me, if I put a big brand across it to keep you from stealing it, then I've ruined my art.
Right.
Yeah. And like, what am I doing this for? I share stuff to share it. Go for it. Have a good time with it. Just be cool with it, right? Just be nice with the content. At some point, it's like this idea that it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Mm-hmm. That works once. Because then the location is not going to let anybody in anymore, and everybody loses. Right? Ask permission. Be the guy that builds the relationship so everybody can benefit.
Yeah. So you're just a nice guy. That's what's going on.
Just lastly on the watermarking thing, I think that if you are somebody that wants to watermark your images, and rightly so, I would urge you to invest in a designer to get something done properly for you. I just see some horrendous watermarks done in Impact, or just horrendous watermarks that just look in Comic Sans or something like that, and it's just like, please just do not do that. There's nothing wrong with watermark. I mean, famous artists for centuries have put their signature on a picture. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but it needs to look good. It has to look good. Yeah.
Most of the artists that did that, they never signed the photo though, right? They signed the mat. Because, like Ansel Adams and, those guys, like, they never signed the photo. They signed the mat.
The photographers, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
true. Because how that would be, like, defacing the artwork.
Yeah. It is, but painters never painted the frame.
Painters,
because but the frame could always be removed, so it's always one of those, like, you gotta.
Oh, good point.
It's like the watermark that's like this 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the watermark. Yeah.
We have a new business here: virtual mats for digital images that you can remove to see the watermark. I love it. Let me write that down. I'm gonna copyright that. All right. So before we move on to the next section, I want to remind the folks that are in the chat room, go ahead and post your questions in there. We'll try to get to them if we can. Our normal community manager, Chris Berry, is out in the desert gallivanting around Burning Man right now, I believe. So I don't think he has internet access out there, nor would I want him to jump into the chat. But if you guys pop your questions into the chat, we'll get to them if we can, and before the end of the show. All right, guys, before we move on to this, also, folks in the chat room, if you wouldn't mind, give us a thumbs up or some sort of indication in there so that YouTube can know that you watched us, so that we can get more juice and more love and get more people watching the show. All right, before we move on to the next segment, Jake, before we lose you, because I know it's 3 a.m. over there and you got that bottle of gin.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I'm kidding. But I wanted to see if you had any closing thoughts, since you've got a lot of experience with this. For the people that have not hit this issue yet but may hit it, what are your, like, fatherly sort of words on how to deal with it and move forward? Should they attack it head on? Should they confront it? Should they sick their community on the offenders, or should they just ignore it and keep creating art?
I think just before we move on to that last section, I also just want to touch on how as photographers and artists and creators, just in general, it's not just the imagery that we create, but also our name as well. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody can steal our name, whether it be, and somebody, people have stolen my name and used my name and my images to trick people, trick young models into shooting with them, which is horrendous and awful in its own right. But more importantly, from my point of view as a business, that can be devastating to have those sorts of, something bad happen and then my name get used in the wrong way.
That's like creative identity theft right there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just about the images. So you really do need to be aware of all of the aspects of it when you're a creator. It's not just about the images that you create, but your persona online and your branding and that sort of thing as well. It's not as simple as it used to be. Put it like that.
Yeah. It's not as simple as it used to be, and it's getting worse. Or better. I mean, as we have more and more options to choose from and more ways to share our work and more people looking at our work, obviously the threat it increases exponentially as well. But parting shots there, Jake, on for the new people out there. What do you think?
So there is a few things that you can do. Obviously, watermarking is one of them, and which is fine. You can do that. I would also advise that you embed your contact details in the metadata, which is very easy to do. On import in Lightroom, or I think even cameras will. You can input that metadata into your camera when the file is actually captured as well. That's useful to do. And if you want to keep a track of images that are already out there and make sure you've got a handle on where all these images are being used and where they're going, then there's services like Pixie you can use. I think it's Pixsy. Yep. So they track images visually. There's TinEye, I think, and Google Image Search as well. You can do that manually yourself. So if you have, even think about your most popular image, just try that once, pop it into the Google Image Search and see what comes up. I think you'd be surprised as to where you find them.
I was going to say it's not. Don't do it unless you're really prepared to see the stuff.
So true. Yeah.
Mostly in places that you can't do anything about.
Jeez,
that's
like looking under a rock. Don't look under a rock.
It was 250,000 flyers in DC at one point, and it was just like, it's nothing you're going to do. They've just been floating around Washington DC for weeks to come. But like you say, it's just nothing, So yeah, Troy's absolutely right. Just be prepared to realize that people are going to be using your images without your permission, and there's frankly not a lot you can do about it. So yeah, just be prepared for that. The other thing that you can do is set up Google Alerts, which is what I do for my name and my brand. So I spoke about a minute ago about obviously looking out for your images, but looking out for your name and your brand and terms associated with you. So you can set up Google Alerts. So I just have mine as Jake Hicks Photography, and then once a day Google just pings me with, this is where you've been mentioned, and in this, and a lot of the times that will pick up sort of torrent sites and that sort of thing. If people are using, if you make videos and tutorials like I do, then it will pick up torrent sites where obviously other search engines won't. So it can be useful from that point of view. It's really simple to do. You just do it once and then it's done forever.
Yeah.
So it's really easy.
I've had one of those running for years and years, and it is great because you just get a silver platter with, this is where you've been mentioned. But you bring up a good point, Jake, before we move on to Troy, the idea of, we're talking about images particularly, specifically, and then also your name, like you mentioned. But what happens when it's like you're a digital content creator, you're creating tutorials and training, by the way, at rggedu.com, get Jake Hicks stuff. But you're creating a bunch of stuff like that. What happens when somebody lifts that? What do you do? Like, they just lift your one of your colored gels tutorials, and they lift it wholesale, and you see it on a torrent through your Google Alert. What do? You just feel bad that day, or do you act on it?
That's something that I always try and act on. Yeah, because that is, that is a major problem that will only spread literally like a virus. As soon as several get out, then it just becomes harder and harder to stop once that's happened. So yes, thankfully I work with RGG EDU, so they have a team that's for that, and they will obviously get in touch with that site and they get pulled down. Now, like we said at the start, it's just a losing battle. It's it's just like whack-a-mole. As soon as you knock one down, another one comes up. So right. It's you just gotta keep doing it. And if you have a team in place to do it, then fine. But you can't. Don't expect to win. Put it like that.
Right. Yeah. You're ladling water out of the ocean. Right. Expecting. Yeah. Troy Miller, what about you, man? What parting shots to people to give them some advice on how to deal with this stuff moving forward?
Make an effort to protect your brand. Send a letter, reach out, say something. I mean, that you don't just ignore it, right? I mean, yes, you might not be able to do anything, but let's say, Jake's Flyers, if he knows who distributed those, he could reach out with a nice letter and go, dude, that was wrong. Or maybe it's a cease and desist letter. It's just, you need to make an effort to protect your brand. Can you really get anything from that? Maybe not. But there's a lot of people, a whole lot, that don't even understand or acknowledge or realize that was wrong. Yeah. And maybe just that letter from the lawyer, that one moment, may change that one person's idea that, holy crap, I didn't know. Because you could include in that letter, hey, dude, next time you want to do this, let me know. maybe I'll provide you an image. And next thing you know, this person like, I didn't know. I see that in my industry all the time, and I do a lot of instructing. We have these classes, and there's students sitting in the class going, okay, so I have this image I'm going to enter in competition, and I got this image offline. I'm like, you can't use that. They're like, why not? It's not. I'm changing it. That's not your barn. That's not your photo. They legitimately did not know. Now, we know better, right? Like, we could bring the hammer down on them and go, well, that's just stupid. But they didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
but see, that's the thing, though, you know, and I think you've hit metal to metal for me, right? Because it goes down to ignorance of the law is no defense. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I didn't know that it was illegal to steal the money from the bank. I'll give it back, and I won't do it again. And that's what you're saying, Troy. You're saying, you know what? Hey, don't steal from banks. That's not good. Give that money back. And in the real world, you're doing time, or something bad's happening to you. You're saying nothing bad should happen to these people. You should just slap them on the hand and tell them, hey, you get a pass this time because you're an idiot. I mean,
no, it's all about intent. It's all about intent, right? I mean, like if a money bag falls out of the back of the truck and you're sticking your hand in the bag, okay, the ignorance of the law is not going to work. Yeah. However, if there's money blowing down the street and you don't see anybody, okay.
That's different, though. I mean, in the case of Jake Hicks, you're like, someone's printing 250,000 or 25,000 flyers.
No, man. They know.
Yeah, with his image on them, they know they didn't take that image. They know they didn't buy that image.
That's why you go after them.
But how do you make the line? Where do you draw the line between, okay, idiot and accidental tourist? Like, where's the line in there?
Oh, it's all about ROI. It's all about return on your investment. It's all about how much effort are you going to put into chasing this person down and how much are you going to get out of it. Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to. If you want to just go on a witch hunt, it's gonna tear you apart. I mean, there's been many websites where they've gone through, it's like you're not a photographer.com or whatever it was, and they're showing all this blatant plagiarism and stuff, and they get sued, and now their life is in hell because that did not serve the industry at all.
Yeah,
it's a good idea for me, for Jake, for any artist to go after them to the extent that it's worth it. Some things aren't worth it.
Yeah. Well, that's that line, because is it worth it? Because when I think about it, I think about, people are literally stealing, like even in the case of a name, a website, a location, an image, whatever, I feel like people are literally taking money from your kid's college fund, right? I mean, these are idiots that are like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to take some money from your little girl. That's the way I kind of think about it when I think about this plagiarism thing. Like, it does not bother you like that, Troy? Like you're okay. No, you're okay with taking the high road to the standpoint of, you know what? People are all innocent until proven guilty.
No, I never said that. And Jake's boiling over there.
He's awake now, isn't he?
Let me finish with this because I know where you're going with this. I don't think that they should get away with it. I don't think that it's just, everybody, it's flowers and sunshine and unicorns and it's great. I would much rather, instead of you spending 6 months going after somebody that pissed you off, go create some new content, sell that. It's all about your return on investment. How much time do you have to put into it? That's only you can decide that. I can't decide that for you.
Yeah, that's true. Jake, what do you think? Troy wholeheartedly believes that the entire world is innocent until proven guilty.
I don't. You know that's not true.
That's not what he said. I'm kidding. What do you think?
You just got to be sensible with pretty much exactly what Troy said. You just got to be really sensible with your time. I personally choose to invest my time in creating new work rather than invest my time in chasing around old work.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Now, at the same time, I am still smart with who I chase over theft. Like, nightclubs are by far and away the worst offenders. I don't think any single nightclub owner has ever paid for a photo shoot in their entire life. Because obviously, like they promote club nights 3 or 4 times a week, and they're transient. They're just gone like that. That's just, they promote a club night, it's gone. It's very difficult to get money on that because that club night is gone.
Yeah.
It's
by the time you find out about it,
it's over. It's beyond. And they're like, well, what's your problem? Now, if somebody steals an image and puts it on the cover of a book, then that's worth your time to go after and go, you're making direct money off the sale of that book that's on the shelf today and in the future. We got to do something about that. Yeah. You can either have it and we can talk about a price, or you got to pull it and we still got to talk about a price.
And oftentimes, this is not an excuse for the ignorance of the law, but it's an understanding. A lot of times, designers that in a big business might go pull images from somewhere as a mock-up.
I don't get that. Like, you're right, but that's the argument I hear all the time. But I find that so hard to believe that that's true.
So this is interesting because my daughter's a designer and she works on a lot of big projects, and she gets mock-ups. These are legitimate mock-ups, never meant to go to print, never meant, but an image slips through. Now, on the artist side, they're going to look at that and say that's BS. There's no way that can happen. But in a complicated process, that can happen. So what happens is an artist comes to them and goes, that's mine. So now the publisher and everybody involved goes, oh, crap. All right, we got to pay for it now. So that's why I think it's important that you go after these people with the intent of what can I get? Who am I educating? What's my result from this? Because not all things are equal across the board either.
Yeah, that's kind of what Jake was saying as well. I mean, it's you choose your battles, right? So
and whilst we're on that, do we chase clients as well? So I think a client will pay for a photo shoot, and they'll go and they automatically assume that they own those images in perpetuity. When that's obviously not the case at all from our point of view. You if it's a wedding or something like that, it's so often clients will be using those images and blowing them up and doing all sorts of ugly things with them, and they're not entitled to, but very few of us choose to chase those down, even though we should do.
Yeah.
So
do you chase them down, Troy?
Client ignorance is a problem.
If you shot a wedding, Troy, and first of all, do you have rights? When people are signing your wedding contracts, do you sell them the digital rights, or do they have access to everything? And if they don't have the digital rights, what's to stop them from using their iPhone or Android phone and snapping a picture and putting it on Snapchat?
For me, it's a shared copyright. It's a shared usage rights, right? Like I own the image. They have, because it's their likeness, so they have the right to that likeness. They technically can't reproduce it and sell it or use it in a way that I would be making money, right? But if they copy it and give it to grandma, okay, that's arguable. I could have sold an 8x10, right? But as we talked about earlier, that's not a client that I'm concerned about because they're going to spend money for me anyway. On the other hand, I cannot take those images and go sell them commercially without their expressly written permission. Mm-hmm. So because it's their likeness, I have no right to do that. When somebody takes my work and uses it inappropriately or in a way that I didn't give them permission, I always reach out and I always say, hey, by the way, did we talk about this? Oh,
you're
no,
so nice. You are so nice.
Because look, for me, right, I deal in the wedding community. I can't be this gruff, mean guy because pretty soon it's not going to work. Yeah, Frederick.
Well, hey, I can.
And
I'm old. I'm cantankerous.
I'm a bit too, but every type of photography is different because if you're a commercial photographer, that's different. If you shoot sports and you're making $5 on a 5x7, you can't afford to lose one 5x7, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I reach out to them and I usually say, if it's appropriate, like, hey, did we talk about this? If not, that photo is really bad. That's embarrassing to my quality. Like,
that's the other thing that I have a problem with as well. It's like it's not even the theft; it's how badly it gets reproduced, and your name is still essentially on it. Whether it be a style or whatever. That is not cool. Like I would rather redo it. Yeah, I would rather redo it for you for free rather than you steal it badly.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I think we have to be realistic, and it's not just me thinking that all people are good. Because that I don't believe that, Frederick. You know my feeling on that. But I think that most people just don't know.
Right.
They just literally don't know. And with the pervasiveness of the internet and imagery everywhere, and sites that give away imagery for free, I think that they just don't know, and we need to educate them the best we can in our genre or in our field, the best way we can do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good point to transition on. And folks that are in the chat room, I want to remind you, if you have a question for us, you can go ahead and stick that in there, and we'll get to it after this next segment, which is our Picks of the Week segment. Yeah, I think that was a good conversation, guys. So thank you for sharing that. And Troy, I had no idea you were such a you're so left leaning. I had no idea.
Oh, I gotta go right now.
I just kid. Don't walk out of the room. We know what that leads.
I gotta manage my stress.
Yeah, I know. All right, guys. Well, let's move on to the Picks of the Week segment. This is the segment where you guys get to recommend something to the TWiP audience, as long as it is somehow related to photography. Mr. Jake Hicks, you are the new guy on TWiP. So tell us, what is your pick of the week? And you can recommend anything.
Okay, well, because I'm new, I'm going to shamelessly plug myself because I don't know any better. So, yeah, this week I've just released a brand new video tutorial with RGG EDU, and it was on long exposure portraits. So it's a 6+ hour video over there that we did together. Yeah, super proud of this one. It covers everything to do with long exposure in the studio, and we even do some long exposure stuff at night as well. But yeah, it's just covering a lot of ideas with long exposure that is perhaps a little bit more refined than just experimenting with drawing silly shapes outside in your garden or something like this. This is how to sort of do long exposure and use it in a commercial sense, as it were. So create something unique but still polished and professional looking. I
love it. And you have another course up there as well, right? What's the other one?
The other one is the colored gels portraits. That's the one that I'm sort of known for, and that was a really big one a couple of years ago. I can't believe that there's anybody out there who doesn't own it yet. But yeah, if you don't, you certainly pick it up.
That was good.
Did you hear that? Jake, I love it. All right, Troy, what about you, man? What's your pick of the week?
I can't remember what I put in there.
Macro.
Yeah, the mighty macro lens.
No, what else did I write? I wrote something else.
You wrote not just for macro.
Okay, so we'll just go with the macro. I know that macro, everybody thinks like really small, but macro lenses, 90 to 120 millimeters up to 200 or so, they make killer portrait lenses because they're super sharp, they're super flat, and the nice thing is, like for me, if I'm shooting maternity or babies or weddings, I can walk right in and shoot hand details, rings, eyes, pull back. They're super flat and they're super sharp. So if you think that your macro lens is just for macro, nah, you gotta put it to work.
I love it. And speaking of lenses, this, I'm going to bring myself up on the screen here because I want people to see this. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, this is a good test because I'm streaming this show on a brand new, less than a week old MacBook Pro with an i9 processor with 32 gigs of RAM in it. And look what's happening to my video right now. If you can see, look what's happening to my video on a brand new machine. Thank you, Apple, with your i9 processor. And I think the neighbors can hear my fan going off in this machine too.
Isn't that what happens when you watch the Ring video? Isn't that what happens to your face?
It must be. Yeah. Craziness.
You got 7 days, Frederick. 7 days.
Well, and someone in the chat is saying that their video's frozen. Hopefully, it's not going too crazy. But let's wrap it up here. I do not have a pick of the week. So Troy, your pick was the Mighty Macro Lens. Use it not just for shooting close-up shots of ice and fire, but you can shoot actual portraits with it, right?
Yeah, it's a great lens.
Are they super expensive, macro lenses?
No, not generally. I mean, you're talking $1,200. I mean, it depends. I have a 120 millimeter Nikon that I carry in my bag all the time, especially for weddings. It's amazing. I'll shoot portraits with it, and then I'll walk right up and shoot the ring, and then I'll turn over and I don't have this focus range that I have to worry about. I can just move anywhere I want.
So these are lenses that you can switch to macro but are still usable anyway. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they focus to macro. You have to switch anything. Not on the lens I'm using. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how close can you focus with it then?
Oh gosh, it's almost 1-to-1. So I can be 3 inches away. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I shoot babies, because brides get married, have babies, so I get babies. The nice thing is I can sit on the floor and I can move into the eyes, move into the face, back up, do the hands, do the feet.
Real quick, yeah.
Real quick, and I don't have to move much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like the stream may have frozen, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up because I am so pissed at Apple right now. I have no words for you, Apple, right now.
I was just about to buy that thing as well.
No, I'm about to take it back. I'm still within my return period, so this is going back to the store. Thank you for recommending it, Troy Miller.
There's something else wrong.
I'll be nice to the people
So you
at
do
Apple
recommend
Store.
it, Troy?
Yeah, he did. And look at the show. Look, this is a Troy Miller joint.
And we tested it. We tested it the other day for like 2 hours, and it never did that. So
No,
something else is up.
Something else is up. All right. Well, hopefully the audio is still recording. I have not terminated the recording, but it looks like we may have stopped streaming. But don't worry about it. So, Troy, as we end the show, where would you like people to go to find out more about you and check out the Troy Miller empire?
SpicyJello.com.
That's it? Just Spicy Jello? No F64
Yeah.
Live? What happened to
Everybody's heard F64 a bunch of times. They know. They're all waiting to come to February. They're dialed. That's good. Just go to Spicy Jello and look at my fire.
Is that a euphemism for something else?
Stalk me on Instagram. Yeah, check out my stuff.
I love it. Well, cool. Thanks for
Can
coming
I ask
on, man.
real quick, Troy, why you decided to go for a brand name over using your own name?
Because I think that it gives me more diversity and creativity. So if it's Troy Miller Photography, that to me that I want a business that overlays. So my actual business name is Imagery Concepts, but allows me to do all kinds of things. My artsy stuff, my crazy stuff is Spicy Jello.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I started 25 years ago, and nobody ever thought about using their own name for that. So, is that better?
That's the real reason. That's the real reason right there.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, and Jake Higgs, man, what about you? Where can people go to check you out and buy your course?
So everything can be seen at jakehicks.photography.com, and all the links to social and bits and pieces are found on there, and hopefully there'll be a link to my new course in the show notes or something on this as well, so that'll be perfect.
Very cool. All right, folks. Well, thank you for putting up with us for this somewhat shaky Troy Miller endorsed episode of This Week in Photo.
Sponsored
by crappy i9 processors in the MacBook Pro.
Just think somebody doesn't know what they're doing over there.
Oh, yeah. It's only show 532, Troy Miller.
Shots fired, man. Shots fired.
Shots fired. I love it.
Yeah, you're looking decidedly more drunk than me right now, Frederick. I'm just saying.
Oh, I will be after this show, man. There's a puddle of sweat on the floor over here from trying to get my video going during a live stream. It's crazy. That's what we were saying, Troy. Like a recorded stream, fine, no problem. As soon as you stream live, all the gremlins come out with their hammers and all that stuff to mess everything up. But that's all right.
Thank God it wasn't me. That's all I'm saying.
No, you were smooth.
You could always, you could always pre-record it. Then you could just play it back, and then everybody who's just watching it and chatting, you could just answer. They have no idea you're sitting in your underwear in bed.
That's true.
I'm just saying.
That's true.
It could be a live stream.
I'm actually happy that this is recording like this because this is part of live, right? I want people to see this is, you see all these reviews online about on YouTube about the new app Mac and it does this and all these benchmark tests. This is real world. This is what happens during a live stream with an i9 processor.
A dodgy one. That's terrible.
It's so bad.
I don't buy it. All
right. Well,
your internet's
testing will
down.
continue. I have until September 7th to return this thing. I have a feeling September 5th it's going to be back in the box. So we'll
He's
see.
getting a new modem. That's what it is.
No, modem. You're right. I knew I should have upgraded from that 300 baud modem. Oh man! All right, guys. Well, thank you both for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Jake, thank you for coming on and being a trooper in the middle of the night through all this craziness and staying awake. And
Pleasure.
yeah, and folks that are in the chat room, thank you for sticking out through this technically difficult episode. And you know what time it is? It is time to take that lens cap off. If it'll let me finish in broadcast.